All right, well, I'm Brenda, and this is Carrie. We're co-owners of NextHome Tri-Covenant Realty, and Carrie happens to be my daughter. I'm the broker, real estate agent. She's a real estate agent, soon to be a broker. So very soon, I'm holding her to it. But anyway, before I get started, I really want to just say a few things about Fort Sill Federal Credit Union. So first off, thank you for inviting us to come out and talk about home buying. This is your largest investment, right? So home ownership is very important to us. It is a great way to build wealth, personal and also as a business. So we're excited to be able to share some insight on the home buying process. Now, before I get started though, I really want to talk about the credit union. Prior to me going into real estate, I was at Fort Sill for 33 years. Fort Sill Federal Credit Union was one of my biggest supporters. Every year they came in as one of the top contributors back for sponsoring soldier and family programs out at Fort Sill. So I can't say enough about Fort Sill Federal Credit Union. Besides the fact, when I showed up here in 1991 and I transferred my credit union account, I went to the Fort Sill Federal Credit Union. So they not only have my account, you don't only have my account, you've got my nephews, my husbands, my brothers, and all of my family members. So thank you for what you do. It's very important, and I appreciate the fact that you guys help us tremendously, because when we have individuals that come in and they don't have credit, we get the opportunity to send them over to the credit union to get those prepaid credit cards that help them build credit ratings, which helps them through that home buying process. So I want to share a really quick story. So I have this young man, and Bruce, I'll tell you his first name. He came to me about 4 years ago now, about 4 years ago. He had been homeless. He was a veteran that got out of the military. 6 months after he was out of the military, which was a big enough transition, he went through a divorce. After the divorce, he took up drinking a little heavy. He ended up being homeless. About a year and a half later, his father became ill and his mother was unable to care for the father. So the decision was made, Bruce, get off the beach, get off the streets, come home. So he came home. Father's now health starting to deteriorate even more. Bruce wanders into me because the owner is going to sell his home. And he said, you know, my mother's elderly now, my dad's in bad shape, I'm trying my best to keep everything going, my credit's in the tank, I've been through all of this, how do I get started? And I said, okay, we're going to start this process slowly and you're going to do exactly what I say, right, Bruce? He said, yes, I want you to go get a credit card at Fort Sill Federal Credit Union, and you're only going to use it for gas, and you're going to pay it off, and you're going to use it every month. Leave a little bit on there, but I want you to pay it down, and I want you to build that credit score. Bruce is not only the owner of a $230,000 home now, he also owns a local business. So all of that happened through the efforts of us working together. So again, thank you for what you do. Home ownership is possible for all of us, and we need to take every opportunity that we can to show people. So we're going to talk to you today, and I do want to tell you, I want to do this caveat. So if you want a real estate agent, we'd like for you to choose NextHome. However, I'm going to tell you that Lawton is full of great real estate agents. So whomever you choose, okay, this is going to help you through that process. Many of us have friends in real estate, family in real estate. This is just going to help you make the right decision when it comes to home buying time. All right. So again, I'm Brenda and this is Carrie. We do own a franchise. The franchise is NextHome, and our motto is humans over houses. And we do that because we don't see it as a contract, we see it as a relationship. Once we sell you that home, we want to be friends forever. We want you to like us. So one of the things that we'll talk about today is some tips that will help you. Carrie's going to come over here as well, and we're going to talk about how to empower you to make smart decisions. And of all the folks in the office, first off, I will say this too. Carrie did not want to get into real estate. I've been in housing management for most of my life. I started at Fort Sill as an intern, as a housing director, working my way up through the internship, becoming the housing director. I had over 9,000 spaces that I had to manage between housing, barracks, and lodging. And Carrie had to work on weekends with me, and she said, I will never be in anything to do with housing. So when I called her and said, hey, I'm thinking about buying a real estate company, you want to come in as an agent? And she said, no. And
no, absolutely not.
so 9 months later, actually on my birthday, she decided that she was going to make the call, and she transitioned in. And how do you feel about that decision?
Best decision I've ever made. I love it.
And she was just selected as NextHome's Corporate Agent of the Year, meaning nationally she was the Agent of the Month. So I'm very proud of that. So the steps, we're going to talk about 8 of them, and we'll break those down. Getting pre-qualified. So as we're up here talking to you, we're going to tell you that we've got lots of ways to get you pre-qualified, and sometimes it's a 2-year process like Bruce, and sometimes it's right away. We're going to refer you over to several different lenders. I was just thinking to myself, I need to have the credit union come and talk to our team, because you didn't now do home mortgages, right? Again? So at one time, I know you financed one for my son. And I've never used the credit union, but I know several people that we've referred over. So we want to have you come over and talk to our agents. So we'll be reaching out to you. We'll talk to you about a new law that's come out within the last couple years, and that's the buyer-broker agreement. You cannot look at a home with an agent without signing that buyer-broker agreement. Now I'm going to tell you that you can do it for a day, you can do it for 60 days or 90 days, however long you think you're going to like that agent. When I do mine, I typically, unless they're friends and I've known them and they said, hey, you're always going to be my agent, I will do them for a day. Because if I show them a house and they don't like me, I don't want to hang out with them, and I don't want them to feel like they have to hang out with me for 90 days to find a home. So you can do it for a day. If anybody ever says you have to do a buyer-broker agreement, feel comfortable doing it for a day to make sure that relationship works, okay? And then once you sign that agreement, we start the house hunting process. We make offers, we go through the negotiations, inspections and appraisals, loan approval, and closing day. The 2 most challenging, quite honestly, once we get you back through the pre-qualification, is going to be the negotiations and the inspections and appraisals. Okay, this is the journey. Carrie, you're more than welcome to step over here anytime you want and jump in. But this is step 1 is really the consultation and alignment. Let's talk about what your financing plan is. We'll start the search based on what we think we can qualify for, you and us together discussing, making sure you stay within that 30% cash to debt ratio. You know, we'll creep up to 40% if you're comfortable with that, but we try to keep you around that 30% cash to debt ratio, making sure that that mortgage is comfortable. We're also going to talk to you about, if you're a veteran, there are opportunities out there through the VA process that we're going to talk to you about. And it's not just VA approval for the loan. We want to make sure that you're claiming all your benefits. So we're going to connect you to other services that may help you get all your benefits, such as if you've got disabilities, are you at the right level? So we'll connect you to folks, you know, like foundations at Dale Graham that can help you get your VA rating up. Okay. Then we're going to start the touring. We're going to look for some pre-screening. We're going to do that behind the scenes. You're going to send us an address, so we're going to look, and we're going to look at the property disclosures to make sure that there's nothing there that's kind of concerning, and that it truly meets your needs. We can schedule private showings. We also do open houses. When you go to open houses, you don't have to sign that buyer-broker agreement. That is the one condition you don't have to sign. You can go into open houses without that, but if you go in for a private showing, you have to have that buyer-broker agreement in place, okay? Even if it's for that one day. We're going to give you a comparative analysis on that house. So if you say, I want to see Smith Avenue, 1010 Smith Avenue, we're going to pull it up to make sure that it's priced within a comparative market analysis, that it's not overpriced or grossly underpriced, so that if it's grossly underpriced, we're going to start looking back on the disclosures to see why are they selling it at such a reduced price. Okay, we do all of that for you, and then we will help negotiate through the offers and of course the negotiations. All right, and that includes if you're buying, you're a new first-time home buyer, you know, it's $10,000 or so, depending on the price for closing costs. Do you have that cash in the bank, or do we need to make that part of the contract and ask for the seller to pay your closing costs? And we'll walk through all of that with you. We also work through the escrow and the title. Any earnest money, any financing requirements that we have to get you through, we'll stand by you. Any agent's going to do this, okay? So when I say I'm talking real estate agents in general, should be standing by you. The property inspections, please never buy a home without a property inspection. Now, I'm not saying you have to go hire a property inspector, but please hire somebody to inspect that property. If we're working with you, if you say, you know what, I really don't need a property inspection, we're still going to encourage you to let us get a roofer, a licensed electrician, a licensed plumber, and someone to look at the foundation, and also an HVAC tech. Those are some of the things that we're going to send out to look and tell us what's the condition, what's the concern. That way when we get to negotiations, we're negotiating those repairs on your behalf. I like to always have somebody, I don't close a deal unless somebody's looked at the roof. Even if it's an investor. Brenda, I want the roof looked at. I want the foundation looked at. I want the HVAC. I want the water heater. I want those things looked at, because whatever you're offering, we want to make sure that the price that you're offering either includes those things being replaced, or you're not going to have an expense pretty quickly, right? We will always do a final walkthrough. So say we go through the process and we've inspected the house and we've got these repairs that we've negotiated. We said we want a new roof, we want the water heater replaced, we want the windows sealed. Regardless of what we ask for, we're going to walk through it and make sure they're done. I will tell you that Carrie is very good at that. I don't know if it's her height or her attitude, but she's really good at inspections.
Combination of the two.
And then we will make sure before you sign any closing documents that we've reviewed them ourselves and that everything that we ask for is included, so that's all done for you. And then of course we get down to helping you with moving, all the funding's done, and getting the keys so you're ready for move-in. Now it seems like a lot. This is all there, so I'm not going to go over it. I've covered in every line for you. But, you know, from the consultation, talk about preferences and needs. Carrie, you want to talk about how you connect to the buying power, the things that they really want in the home?
Yeah, absolutely. So normally I will schedule that first time meeting. So you come in, we talk about what are you looking for. A lot of times people think, all I want is a 3-bedroom home. We go look at some 3-bedroom homes. None of those meet the criteria they're looking for. So we need to break it down. Do you want granite countertops? Do you want an open living area? Is there a certain location that you want to be in? Certain school district that you want your children to be in? So we have a first time consultation, go over all those wants and needs, and then we will set you up in a program called Real Scout that will automatically send you the alerts for the homes. You go in and mark whether you like the home or you don't. It automatically sends those answers to me so that I know, okay, we're not looking for homes in Rolling Hills, or we're not looking for homes in this certain area, so that we can find you the home of your dreams.
So a good example is we had a soldier that was getting transferred to Fort Sill as a drill sergeant, and I was the listing agent. I will share that there's a difference in real estate agents. There are really good listing agents, there's really good buying agents. Sometimes you'll get both of those where they can list and they can sell, but oftentimes their skill set, if they're listing, are not the best as buying agents. I am a much better listing agent than I am a buying agent. I can sell you, but my time is, I'm busy, I'm just doing some things here. So going to show you, I'll go show you all the houses you want to see, but I will tell you, if I was rating Carrie and I, she's a better buying agent than I am, and I'm a better listing agent than she is. And that's just the skill set, because she has the patience of Job, and she can sit there and she will show you houses all over a lot. I can list houses because I can look at a house and I can tell you some of the needs, and I can talk to the seller about some of the things they need to do to get it ready, or to expect what the buyer is going to ask for. So we got them prepared. So that's from the listing side, and she's got that buying side. She will narrow it down to exactly what you're looking for, show you about 3 houses, and help you make that choice. Now, this drill sergeant was coming into Lawton. A lot of people are going online now. They're really good about, I've had soldiers want to buy a house without ever seeing it, just only on the pictures. Okay, marketing, you pretty good at marketing? I know you are. Can you dress up some pictures?
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't look like it looked on camera, right?
And pictures don't show you what a house smells like either.
So you walk in and like, oh, I bought this and it's heavy smoke. Ooh, I didn't think 25 miles was that far. So this drill sergeant, he says, I'm coming here. I love this house. It was a beautiful little house, but it was in Walters. His duty day starts at 4:30 in the morning. His duty day ends at 8:30 at night. So do you really think he's going to want to drive to Walters after getting off from being there since 4:30 in the morning? So he goes through the contract with his agent, and I kept saying, are you sure he really wants this house that's in Walters? That's a long drive. He says he's ready for it until he got here and he viewed it. And he was like, man, that's not only a long drive, it's a boring drive. So, and I'm going to do that at 4 in the morning. So, like, yeah. So we backed out. He backed out of the contract, which was all fine. I was kind of expecting, and I prepared the seller. So we were able to work through it, let him out, and move on. And then a retired couple purchased it. A good buying agent's going to be open and honest and ask you those hard questions. Are you ready for that drive? Yeah, are you ready for the winter? We get really hot summers and we get some really icy winters in January. Are you ready for it? How's that going to impact you? They're going to talk to you about those wants and needs that you have, okay? And then we're also, that home buying process, we're going to ask you hard questions and we're going to give you some hard advice. Like, okay, we got you pre-qualified. Just like I told Bruce, you're pre-qualified now. You're pre-qualified, your income's ready, your credit's ready. Thank God the credit union, you did exactly what I said you did with that credit card. Now we're ready. Do not buy anything until we get closed. You got it? Don't buy anything. You're not gonna go buy your furniture that you want and finance it. You're gonna sit here right where you're at until we get you through this closing process. And oh, by the way, don't quit your job. Because we've had it where we've taken that new buyer and they get right up until the point of almost closing and they say, oh, I got a better job over here, so I'm going to change jobs. So the whole process starts all over again because they were approved on this job for this length of time and now they've changed jobs and we've got to start the process again. So once you get pre-approved and you made that decision to buy that home, do not change jobs and don't go buy the Corvette, please. Okay? All right, and then again, the pre-screening, Carrie's really good about that, negotiating the neighborhoods, talking to the school. You know, I worked at Fort Sill for 33 years. I was with the Army for 40 years. I never had a soldier call me and ask what the motor pool looked like. Never, not once in my career. But I would get calls daily. What neighborhood? What school district? How close is it to the hospital? How close will I be to shopping? So think about things like that. What do you want to be near? What do you like? When I married my husband many moons ago, I just built a home over in Blythes Point. Had a home over there, it was beautiful. I loved it. We get married, he hates it because the neighbor shared our fence. And he doesn't like sharing the fence or having to ask the neighbor if he can go use his side of the fence to paint it. So we ended up selling that house and moving to the country because he needed space, right? So make sure that if you're going through those life changes, also you're talking to your soon-to-be spouse about where they want to be, or your current spouse. Where do you want to be? Because once you get in that home, you need to be there a little bit before you start trying to sell it. All right, the negotiation, the home evaluation. What two points of negotiation do you think there are in a contract? Actually 3, but let's talk about 2. Any ideals on when you're going through the buying process, where do you think you're negotiating at? Anybody?
Price.
I'm sorry?
Price.
Price, absolutely. Number 1, the price, okay? The listing price doesn't always mean the offer price, right? Or the contract price. More often than not, you're going to negotiate that listing price after you've looked at several homes, after you got the comparative market analysis. You're going to start negotiating. Your agent will most likely be negotiating for you. So price is number one. Number two, what do you think? Repairs. Repairs. You're going to negotiate the price again, or you're going to
get a home inspection. Do not ever buy a home without a home inspection.
Yeah, you're going to negotiate that price again based on your inspection, or you're going to negotiate the repairs. If you know that your roof in Oklahoma, they say that a shingle is good for 30 years in Oklahoma. Let's consider about a third of that. How many hailstorms do we get in a year? And how much is the deductible? Quite a bit, right? So if you get a home and it doesn't have a new roof, you want your agent to be negotiating based on that roof inspection, right? So you're going to negotiate that. You're either going to repair it, replace it, or negotiate in price. The same thing with the heater, the HVAC. If you've got if you're buying a new home and the HVAC is 20 years old, the life expectancy is 20 years old, you're either going to negotiate for replacement, repair, or price. Or perhaps a home warranty, okay? So but remember, home warranty is probably not going to replace it at no cost. So all of those things are what we're going to talk through. I truly always try to negotiate. If that roof is 7 years old, I try to negotiate always a new roof replacement. Pretty good batting average on that, because I want my client to start off with as less expense they know they have to pay out. And it also, if we can negotiate new roofs, it helps them with insurance. Insurance is high in Oklahoma, okay? And if there's a roof claim on that house, who do we want to have that roof claim? The seller, not the buyer, right? So absolutely. Appraisals. So once you make an offer, say you make an offer for a 3-bedroom, bath and a half house over in Rolling Hills, and you say, you know what, I'm going to offer you $179,000 for it. The seller agrees, you agree. Then the appraiser comes in and he says the house is only valued at $159,000. Who wins? The appraiser. Because that's all it's worth. You're only going to get a bank, just like a car. So a friend of mine had a Miata, and I came into the credit union and I said, okay, I'm not ready yet. Carrie was actually with me. It was a quick decision. It was a knee-jerk reaction. I said, she's passed. He's going to sell it. I don't want anybody else to have her car. I'm going to go get it. I'll just go to the credit union and give me a signature loan. They said, what do you want it for? I said, I need it for this Miata. And they said, well, it's only valued at this price. That's all we're going to give you. And I said, okay, that's it. Same thing with a house. You're only going to get what the value is, what the appraised value is. The bank is not going to loan you $179 if it's only valued at $159. So we're going to go back. That appraisal is non-negotiable. They can appeal it, but appeals are hard on appraisal. So we're going to go back and say, well, the appraised value is only this. So you're either going to have to pay out of pocket the additional that they want for it, or we're going to negotiate. We're going to negotiate on your behalf and say, market analysis says this, appraisal says this. This is all we're going to pay so that we can get you in that home. All right. Counter offers. You want to talk counter offers?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, price is negotiable. That's one of the biggest negotiating factors when you're writing up a contract. You, as the buyer, if the seller comes back and says, I don't want to accept that offer, and they give you a counter offer, you can still go back and counter their offer again. Until you come to an agreement, there is no contract. So everything in real estate is negotiable.
I countered for one client. She offered, the house was listed at $250,000. She offered $225,000. No, I'm sorry, she offered $219,000. They declined it. We waited 2 weeks. We went back in. She offered $219,000. They declined it. We waited 2 weeks. She offered $225,000. They declined it. They left the price at $250,000. We went back for the 4th time at $225,000. They declined it. 6th time, they declined it. 7th time, they accepted. She got the house at $225,000 with a new roof. And I said, it may be gone. I can't guarantee you. But I kept asking her, okay, do we want to creep it up just a little? They said, no. We just kept going back 7 times, and she's in that house now. And she was like, I'm going to pay cash for it. This is all I got. I can't do any more. $225, and they paid $7,000 in her closing. So she got it at a good price. All right. The reviewing of the disclosures here through that home buying, so you go through the inspection. We've already looked at the disclosures before we've even shown you the house. Why we do that, they have to disclose. So I cannot fill out a disclosure for the seller. The seller has to fill it out. You want to make sure that you review the disclosure. You want to make sure that your agent reviews the disclosure, because if there's defects in that property, they have to by law disclose it. So if the AC is broken, they should disclose it. If the roof has hail damage, they should disclose it. If it's in a flood zone, it should be disclosed. It is against the law for me to do that for the seller. They know the property, so they have to disclose it. So when you call us up and say, I want to look at 1010 Smith Avenue, we're already going to look at that disclosure and be telling you, okay, you know, it's got some hail damage. Because you may decide, I don't want to look at it. Ooh, it had foundation repairs. Foundation repairs is not a showstopper. If you have a crawl space, it's not unusual. If you have a slab foundation, you're in Oklahoma. We got big booms and we got crazy weather. So it's not unusual to have foundation issues, but the foundation issues should be disclosed to you so that you know what you're getting into. Has there been piers? Has there been foundation repairs? So that you know that, because it can be costly. It's by law, they have to disclose that. So we're gonna look at it before we even show you the house so you know what you're getting into. But through that process, we want you to look at it because we want to address those concerns you may have. All right? Then we're going to assist you through signing all the documents and make sure you get copies of everything, because your lender is also going to be concerned about that, and make sure that you have it. All right. And then when we get into the contract again, one of the key things after we've done all the negotiations and sent all the reports, done the inspections, got the appraisal back, we want to make sure that there's a final walkthrough. Now, in the appraisal process, so you've got a home inspection, costs you about $300, $350, depending on the size. And then you've got the appraiser. The appraiser will come out, he's going to look at the house, he or she, they're going to look at the house, they're going to tell you what the value is, what they're going to appraise it at. If there are mandatory appraisal repairs, they have to be done by closing. Now, anything in your inspection, that's negotiated, right? Appraisal repairs are non-negotiable, because what the appraiser is saying, your house is appraised at this value based on these conditions being met. So if they come back and they say the garage trim is missing, it needs to be replaced, we're not going to close unless it's fixed, because the appraiser is going to come back out and take pictures and send it to the lender. Because the lender's not going to send you the money based on that value unless those repairs are done. So those are non-negotiable. So the seller must fix those. We can't negotiate those out. Okay? And then again, we make sure you receive all the disclosures and that everything's signed. Now, if you're married in Oklahoma, can you buy a house without your spouse? No. Both parties have to sign it. And when you get ready to go to the closing, they both have to sign it. Now, I was sharing earlier, sometimes selling is a little bit harder than buying, because you go into it, you're married, but when you get ready to get divorced and you're both on the deed, you both have to sign it, right? So let's agree on price and what each other's going to walk away. And that can be pretty testy at that end. So make sure you always know that. But you cannot buy a home in Oklahoma, sit at the close. Now you can as a business entity, but when you're doing it as a personal property, you both need to be there. All right. And then we're going to make sure all the due diligence are done. We're going to make sure, working with the title company, that the funding has been executed. And then we're going to get the keys to you, and we're going to help you through the move-in process. All right. Anything you want to add here?
Well, just on the final walkthrough, I was gonna say, there is one option whenever you have that home inspection to have your inspector come back out and do that final inspection for you. That's something that I actually offer to my clients because I am 5 foot tall. I'm not gonna climb up in an attic. There's some repairs that I can see that have been completed, but there's a lot that I can't. So we call in a professional, have him come out, because we have ran into several instances where the listing agent has told us repairs are complete.
Based on the repairman.
Correct. We go out, do the final walkthrough, repairs are not complete. That inspector goes back out, he's up in the attic, he's like, these wires are still exposed, they're not in the junction box like they're supposed to. So get that final inspection, it is very important.
I had the most painful process here just a couple of months ago because the agent the listing agent kept saying, my repairman says it's done. We went out there with the buyer, wasn't done. Went back again, wasn't done. I think we went back four or five times to finally get all the repairs done, because I'm not going to let them close unless it's done. So,
the sewer scopes are one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, sewer scopes.
We have roots and lines all the time. We're in Southwest Oklahoma, it happens, but make sure that you have somebody that can come out and scope that line and make sure that what they were supposed to do has been done.
And also, you're in Oklahoma, so you got a slab foundation. So I like crawl spaces when you have plumbing issues because it's easy to get to the lines. But I like slab spaces to live on. But the problem with slab, where are your plumbing lines? Under the slab. So if you don't do an inspection and you don't do a sewer scope and you buy that house and you're in Oklahoma and you had foundation repairs, or you just had normal settling, what happens to your plumbing lines? They start to shift and they're broken. And if they have to go in that slab, they have to jackhammer, that can get very expensive. So $5,000, $6,000, I mean, it can get really expensive. So you want to make sure that you do a scope of the sewer line to make sure that it's not separated, that the plumbing, the lines are all good. Also, you can get into older homes. What you have, another reason why inspections are critically important is you've got those old plumbing lines. So you've got the old, you can have copper. I bought a house in Kansas many years ago, and it had copper plumbing, and it sprung a leak, and before I could get upstairs, it just spread and just started flooding the downstairs basement area. This was in Kansas. We had basements, but it started flooding. You want to make sure that you're not, that old galvanized piping, sometimes they separate over the years, all that settling. So we want to make sure that we're taking you through that. So we will have a plumber. I typically, if I'm working with somebody that's buying, I've already had my roofer go out and check it. I've had a plumber go out and an electrician. So, all right. Budget for your down payment. If you're looking to buy a home, you need about $10,000 in the bank unless you're going to negotiate some closing costs. Besides, if you're going to go conventional, it's 20% of the home loan typically. So you not only want to make sure that you have good credit, that you've budgeted for that closing cost. If you don't have those closing funds, who are you going to work with? A real estate agent to negotiate. We like to negotiate that closing cost being paid by the seller. So we can help you on that, but we need to know that up front. Understand your loan options. FHA, USDA, tribal funding, HUD, OFA. There's some for low income. If you're within a certain range, there's some funding options there. We also want to make sure you're using all the available grants. She just worked through an amazing deal with our tribes. Our tribes are incredibly supported. What all were all the services that you got that client?
Oh my goodness. We got her $15,000 down. So she came to closing paying $0. They paid for her home inspection, and they also paid for a 1-year home warranty for her.
And 1 month rental?
Yes.
Pre-rental?
Yeah.
So she wanted to move in early. So we did occupancy before closing. It was a vacant home. So she was able to negotiate, hey, we'll pay you that month's rent. So the tribe paid that. So
that was a different client, but yes,
yeah.
They do offer that as well.
So, and then they gave her some relocation.
Yes.
Displaced. What had happened? Explain the displaced.
Yeah, so that client in particular, she was one of our tenants, and her owner decided that his grandson was going to move back into his property. So the tribe offers this displacement program where if you are displaced, they will pay your security deposit and your rent. So hers we were able to use as her pre-occupancy on the home that she was purchasing.
All right.
In addition to the $15,000 down payment assistance.
So she was walking in with no money down. All she had to have was good credit. We work those quite often because we do have an incredible supportive tribal community, but we also have FHA, VA, and then on the conventional, again, we're able to work with the clients on not just, and sometimes you'll walk in with equity. Depending on how good the negotiation is, you can walk in with equity already in the home. All right, just ask lots of questions. Make sure there's no question in the home buying process. There's no crazy question. And every situation is different. All right, again, this is the VA for the veterans and military families, also for widows. We've got some opportunities to help through that. There is a low down payment process, 3% for that we can get you through FHA. Rural housing, it has to be rural. Like it can't be in the center of Lawton, but if you're interested in living outside, there's rural housing initiatives. There's also a great program that Carrie's more educated on than I am because she works with it, and that's the Farmers Assistance for Farms and Ranch. You want to talk about that just real briefly?
Farm Services of America. So the closest office to us is located in Walters, and they will loan if you are going to purchase land for agricultural purposes. You have to meet certain guidelines. They have a set number of livestock that have to be on the land, basically. So one of my clients utilized it. They had to have 10 head of cattle on it, and their interest rate was 3% lower than what we could get them through conventional, no down payment. And then because there was no pond on the land, FSA came out and dug a pond for them. They have incredible programs to keep agriculture alive.
Again, we're in Oklahoma, so
yes.
let's grow. All right, and then of course the conventional, the standard loans, which I think most of you are familiar with. Typically, it's 20% down. Have some good credit. House must appraise out, and here's some of the things that we want you to do. When we say build a strong team, when we talk about building a strong team, it's your realtor, whoever you choose, your buying agent, whomever you choose. It's the broker, the one looking over everything to make sure that you're getting. So in this case, Carrie is an agent. I'm the broker. I'm looking at it as well. Your lender, there should be a good, strong relationship between your lender and your agent. Your agent should be bargaining out. They should be really talking to your lender about the best interest rates that you can get. They should be looking at that. Not all VA lenders are the cheapest or the best. There's opportunities that we can help you. And sometimes you may want to go conventional. You may not want to use VA. It's just up to the buyer. But we want to make sure that we're having those deep, tough discussions about what's best for you. Being financially ready, getting that credit score up. Typically, you're somewhere between, we can get you financed at 580, but you may not have the best interest rate. We want you above that, of course. Know the market trends. Right now, homes are sitting. They were moving, a couple years ago, the interest rate was so low, homes were moving crazy. You list a house and they were being sold immediately. Now they're sitting a little longer, 60 to 90 days before you're seeing much movement just because of the interest rate. We're hearing that the interest rate may be dropping, but right now people are making those tough decisions. Do we want to buy? Do we want to rent? Is now the time? Should we wait it out? I'm going to tell you, my first home that I purchased was 9%. I don't regret it. It was 9%. That was 40 years ago, but it was 9%. So
now's the time for buyers, quite honestly. It's the time to negotiate that purchase price. I showed one last week that we ended up getting under contract for $52,000 less than list price because it's been sitting on the market for 90 days.
Yep. Always read your contract, read the fine print before you sign. I always tell my agents, don't you ever sit down and sign a contract with somebody that you have not read thoroughly, line by line. I think it's just irresponsible if we do that. So that's one thing I always stress. Make sure you read it and you understand it. And think long term. Don't think about buying a house and flipping it in a year.
Right.
Okay? Think long-term. Is this a place that I want to live 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And when I get ready to sell it, is this a house that I'm going to be able to sell? So that maintenance, staying up on top of it, getting that roof replaced, all of those things that we talk about, it's only going to help you resell it. Now, if you buy a house that you're investing in and it looks like a really good deal because it's, you know, $55,000 and it's a 3-bedroom and 1 bath, I'm still going to say you better do your inspection and make sure you know what money you're going to be putting into it. Okay? All right. And then this is just, again, the contract negotiation. Look, I cannot stress it enough. Understand the disclosures, look at the disclosures, make sure, don't ever buy a house without a property inspection. And then make sure that we're collaborating and that we're talking. As your agent, we cannot disclose anything you don't want us to disclose. That's part of that disclosure. We have a confidential relationship and we need to keep it that way. If you come in and you say, you know what, I'm going to offer $150,000, but I'm really okay with going to $160,000, we're not going to tell them that. That would be unethical. We're going to negotiate and try to get you at $150,000.